So we're going to take one of these heads off and replace the piston packing underneath and these blue gaskets in here. So each one of these pumps should, on this side, the side without the plumbing, have a stamped letter that corresponds for each head and each side, right about here. That's important because, as you can see, the valves aren't symmetrical, and it depends which way you put these on as to whether or not the pump is going to work. These taller ones, they go to the outside of the pump. The shorter ones, they go to the intake on the pump. But the easiest way to make sure that these go back together the same way is to just match the letters. The same side, same letter, you'll put the same head back on the same spot in the same orientation if you do that. So these come apart pretty easily. The torque specifications on these, I believe, are 24 pounds. Not that anybody carries a torque wrench with them. So this is the piston inside. Torque spec on that is 30 pounds. So here's where you're going to run into problems. Because the only way to pull that piston out is to go in through there, hook onto the underside of it, and extract it. Which you can't really do with just tools you have laying around. I mean, you can, but it's difficult. Okay, so we're at top dead center there, and then we just want to back it off a little bit to give us some room to hook underneath. Now, I have made myself this extremely janky puller with a little hook that you slide in, hook underneath. The threaded rod takes up all the additional space. There. You can just get rid of that. There. Probably totally blocking the camera right now. You can't see what I'm doing. Not that it matters all that much. Put the pin in. Put the pin in all the way. And then thread her out. right here, this is not good. This should be completely covered in grease. What this means is that whoever's pump this wasn't greasing it enough. So what you have is a stack. This is a replaceable item. I don't know why they give it to us, but they do. This is the fabric cup. So that's the top one. Then you have this piece, which is slightly different than the other one, which they don't give us in the rebuild kit. So you got to keep that. There's also, in each one of these, there's a rubber O-ring that comes in the kit. This is the leather cup. This also gets replaced. And then there's this fiber washer, which I always put the rough side down and the smooth side up. That's the way I've always found them. I don't know if it actually matters, but put it back the way I found it. At least I know that it's right then, and it will work. So I'm going to scrape down all of these gasket surfaces on here, on the head as well. Clean off this gasket, clean up these surfaces. But I won't make you stare at me do that for 10 minutes. One thing that's important to check on these as well when you've got them open is these little springs in here can break. So you got to look and see if they're actually still good. That one's good. That one appears to be good as well. But if those are broken, then you got to take this nut off and replace that little spring in there. Anyways, I'll bring you back once this is all cleaned up and we're ready to put it back together. All right, so we've got everything cleaned up now, ready to rock and roll. And this is how it's all sort of stacked together on all of these pieces to make one piston. So you've got the base and then this fiber washer. I like to put this shiny side up. That's the way I've always found them when they come back or when they're new. This is the leather cup that goes on next. You've got an O-ring that goes inside there. I like to, at this point, just put a little bit of grease in here so that everything seats nice and slips together. Then you've got this reusable one that they don't replace for you, and it's got this little lip on it right there. That goes on there. Just give her a little squish. Then you've got the fiber cup or the fabric cup, and then another O-ring, a little bit more lube, and then here you've got the bolt that holds it all together, a little O-ring that sits in there and seals that. So just sort of push all of this together. Push that O-ring down on there, flip it over, put it in the top, give her a little squish, and that is your piston stack. Now, once I've got this all set up, I like to paint a little grease on the outside of this. Helps when you have to push it back into the cylinder. Plus with these pumps, there really is no such thing as too much grease. So So that's that. We'll move you over here. So this whole thing then just gets pushed into the hole. Like so. Threads on there to start with. And yep, we're set to 30. There she is. And we've got our head and our valve plate. Right there, there's a B. There should be a B right over here. So we know it goes on this way, which you can confirm because the tall one goes to the outside of the pump. So valve cup goes in there like that. But before we do that, the head side gasket is the one with the slots in it, as you can see right there. Take this, put that on there like so. And the pump side gasket doesn't have the slots. So we put this on here, set that in place. Snug these up. Reset this to 24. Ideally, you would always do this in a cross pattern. I'll guarantee you get a flatter, better seal that way. But to be honest, if you just sort of lightly snug these up in the field, if it weeps a little bit, you just snug them up a little more until it stops, you're going to be fine. And that's all there is to that.